Welcome to the Grounded podcast. We are so excited to finally be bringing this to you guys. It's been a long time coming in the sense of finally getting to actually record, to be real, and deciding that it was honestly the right time. There's been so many things in our life that have brought us to this place and has built this amazing platform that we can share with you guys. And it's finally here. So we're super excited. This is our little intro, just so you get to know us a little bit, if you don't already, about what we plan on talking about here and why.
Yeah, I think we were just like delaying it for no reason, honestly.
Nerves, something.
I don't know if it was nerves, but we were just finding excuses like, oh, we have our daughter, we have to do that, or oh, we got to go to the gym, or oh, we have to do work, or we have to do something at the house. Like we were just finding excuses to not do it. And like everything was already here too. That was the weird part. It was like, hey, let's just set it up and we could do it.
Yeah, I actually got him his legitimate mics, which we will be transferring to once we learn them, to be real. And I got him those for Christmas 2 years ago because we were still at Fort Benning in Georgia. And you were going to do your own podcast, and it's kind of blossomed into this hour podcast.
Yeah, because I mean, that's all I listen to when I'm like working out or doing anything. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted them because I wanted to do a podcast. Also had no idea how any of the production worked, but I knew I wanted to do it. But then I think it just kind of like fell in place when we got here. And life happened, and it made more sense to do something together. I think we could still do our own thing, but the way life had worked, it just ended up being, hey, let's do this podcast together, and I think it would end up being something really great.
Yeah, we have very similar minds, and as you get to know us, if you don't already, you'll kind of figure us out a little bit, yet we have very different ways of handling things. However, the past 2 years obviously have been a huge part of our relationship, of our marriage, and have changed us individually and as a couple in probably some of the most different and challenging ways. I mean, I feel like I've become almost a completely different person in some areas, and we've grown together in so many areas, and that's a huge part, like you said, of this name of Grounded, and that comes from who we are and who we've become at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think but it was like we've both kind of been working on making that shift happen. It's not like it just life happened and then we just shifted into this whole mindset of grounded. Mm-hmm. We started to get, like, things started to happen, and we started to do things that made us uncomfortable. Like, we gave church a shot. Like, let's go to church. Let's see if we can find our faith that way. Or let's plan out workouts at this time of every week. Or let's make sure that we get, like, we even wrote it down, like, hey, we're doing mom and dad lunch or mom and dad dinner, once a month. We're going to keep that down. We wrote down, like, all of these things that we were going to do, which was us just being intentional about what we wanted to have happen.
Which has always been an us thing and an individually us thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always been into vision boards and manifestation and the power of prayer. Yet, after things had changed so much that was out of our control, like, that became completely different things, yet we stayed intentional. Mm-hmm. We stayed on track to what we really wanted and who we still wanted to become. And that still brought us here.
Yeah. And then from, like, I guess my point of view is shifting into the new job where I'm now, like, teaching and instructing, and being outside of where I used to be has made me want to, like, I enjoy getting up there and talking and teaching people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I really love this stuff. Maybe I could do it for other people outside of just the space that I work in. Because I'm super passionate about a lot of things that like I come home and I'm like, oh man, I just came up with 10 new ideas or 10 new things that I could talk about that I would love to tell people,
You really
or just
do.
like get their opinion on it. It's not like because I know all things. It's just I want to open up a conversation so we can talk about it, because there is already so much good information out there with podcasts and YouTube and books and all this stuff. And I think some people listen to just like one or two and take it as law, and there's no conversation about it. And I try to do the whole, like most people do the, what is it, inch wide, mile deep on something.
Mm-hmm.
They try to get super in depth about it, and I'm more like, let's do inch deep, mile wide on a
Yeah,
bunch of
for sure.
topics, so I can start digging to a mile at a bunch of different places.
Yeah, and I feel like you've always gotten that way, or you've always been that way, but teaching has brought that a new light,
Yeah.
and you're more passionate about just sharing it with people and getting other perspectives. And that's something we plan on doing here, is just starting the conversation and keeping it going. Um, it's not going to be those like cliffhangers. It's not going to be like my opinion is the only way. We're bringing facts to the table. We're bringing personal experiences to the table. Um, our own individual knowledge, whether it's from college or school for me, or your experiences versus mine or ours together, just to help educate and also create a community of like relatability in some areas, I think, too. Just keeping people aware of not being alone in something and ways out of something else.
Hmm.
And I think that that's going to be really helpful. And let's pretend I don't know you, because we will probably end up having people here watching that really don't know us or think they know us, but they don't. So you mentioned that you're instructing right now.
Hmm.
Go into a little bit of depth on who you are, give us an intro, pretend that I'm somebody new that you're talking to. Tell us a little bit of you.
I would say that like I honestly the last like what would it be, 5.5 years, 6 years that I've been in the military are pretty much like there was a lot of stuff that happened prior to that shaped me or that I like kind of draw back to, but most of my life and the way like I feel like I started a new life when I got into the military, and that's kind of been my
So
life.
when was that?
2018.
Okay, and who
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah. I am Tom. Thomas, what do you want to call me? What do you call me?
I call you Tom.
Bubba. Call me Bubba all the
Bubba.
time, yeah. So yeah, I'm Tom. I joined the military in 2018. I was like right out of high school, or excuse me, college. Um, and my brother was in, and I wasn't really sold on being in the military, I guess. But then I just kind of like, it was one of those things where you just like sign up for the next thing. Like, hey, do you want to try this job? Yeah, sure, sounds good. And you just like keep volunteering for stuff. Do you want to try this workout thing that we have that can get you into these specific career fields? I was like, yeah, sure, sounds good. I love working out. So I did that, and then we go through basic training like everybody else, except the Air Force's is the hardest in the DoD. And then we go into like your next phase of training, which is just prepping you for your next phase of training.
Never
And
ending prep.
yeah, it feels like it. But that's your entire career. You should always be training, you know, like you shouldn't. Hopefully someday you get a football game at the end of it. Like you do all your practice and hopefully someday you get the football game. I'm not saying, so don't cancel me. I'm not saying that like want to play that game. It's a good thing when we don't have to play that game. But yeah, so I did that, and then I got to my unit in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was there for 2 years or a year and a half or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was just surrounded by a ton of like amazing people at the job and amazing people at life. Like just a lot of good people that like definitely guided me in the right direction and were there to support me. And they did their best to do that as I like hamster wheeled and tried to figure out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made the decision to put my name in the hat for a selection course to go to just a different unit. And then I ended up,
Don't don't even let him discredit this right now. You are literally making it sound like it's just for funsies that you're going to go take a little test. He went to one of the hardest selection courses that you have to be selected for prior and then selected again and then you get to go. I think it's
yeah, I
okay
think
to be proud of that.
it was difficult for sure. But I think, honestly, I think if it's just like people don't throw their name in the hat, like I think a lot of people could do it. They just don't throw their name in the hat. And I think the biggest part that like makes it hard is just putting your name in the hat.
I
I don't
agree.
think sure, you have to be a driven individual that's like going to put in the effort to do it, but it's nothing that not everybody can do. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody can do it. You just have to, the hardest part is taking that leap of like, I'm going to do it and I have no idea what's going to happen. But so I did that and then it went really well. And then I ended up in, um, do you want to talk about when we got married in the middle of that? Actually, I'm like going through it. I'm like, we got married in the middle of that.
Yeah, somewhere in
Somewhere in
there.
there, we got married. Um, but yeah, and then we met up because you were getting out of the military at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we met up at my next duty station, and we were there for a super short period of time. Like it was like gone. Um,
1 year, not even.
for you, yeah, I ended up
Mm-hmm.
hanging out there for another like 6 months. Um, but yeah, so then I did that, and then with everything that happened with our family, we ended up moving down here to Texas, and now I am instructing the job that I was like
Doing.
going through the pipeline for and everything. Yeah, so I ended up doing that, and now I'm here and just trying to find my way in, um, like how I can contribute to the Air Force in a different way versus what I was doing. Um, so yeah, that's like wave tops of my life, but I feel like that's all that has really got me to this point now is my last 6 years.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, I could really dive into it and talk for 3 hours about it.
And we totally will. This is just a little snippet of like what brought you here, at least in your career.
I actually did do that. I sat on the couch one night and I was like, because I was getting ready to do the podcast and I wanted to do one. And I was like, let me just like be crazy and talk to myself and see how long I can talk about like what an intro would be like. And then I found myself like doing bedtime tasks and then continuing to walk and talk. And then I was in the shower and then I like brushed my teeth and I'm still like talking in my head. And then I like looked at my stopwatch and it was over 3 hours. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do a podcast because I can't stop
Yes,
talking.
he literally texted me about it too, because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I had already started school and I'm in night school, and I got the text, and you're like, yeah, so I just did a podcast for 3 hours. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And I'm sitting here thinking he recorded this whole thing. He's like, no, I just like talked through what I wanted to do and what I wanted to say. And that's one thing I love about you. And I promise we're not going to do this, you guys. That's something I love about you is you will just send it on any topic and you monologue.
I
However,
was gonna say you
we
love that
can't
about me.
monologue here.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
hate it
no,
every time. It's always,
because I don't get to talk.
you just look at me and go, "Do you realize you just monologued?" I'm like, "Yep, I know."
Yeah, well, you usually talk through your own problems.
Yeah, I get myself to the answer.
Yeah, you do. So
Yeah.
I just sit there and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, and then
Versus
if I
me, when you
wanted to say
start talking
something,
through your problems, I'm just like,
you interject
and try to give a
immediately.
solution to
Yeah,
like cut it before it keeps going
I know.
down the road.
I know.
Yeah.
My name is Sydney. Um, I am an Air Force veteran. I got out in 2022. I started my career in the missile field in Cheyenne, Wyoming at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. So I was a nuclear cop out in the missile field. I did every single job there was out there to include being like it's called an FSC. So basically, you're in charge of your MAF site or house site and all of your nuke sites surrounding you. And there's tons of them out there. And you just live out there for a couple days and then you go home for a couple days and you go right back out. That was not my job of choice. I did choose security forces, but I chose it for canine. My old guy is actually laying out there somewhere. The boxer is at the door sniffing because he wants to get in, looking very sad. Looking very sad.
She always
Oh
looks
my gosh.
depressed.
I know. I'm sorry, buddy. But anyway, I got the awesome opportunity to deploy out of FE Warren, or TDY, and then forward deploy. So I went to Qatar, forwarded to Syria for a little bit. Um, Pretty short. It was like 7 months-ish tour. And then after that, I put my name in the hat to go to K9. I got denied twice before I got picked up, always for a different reason, whether it was manning or the class was full was my second answer. So I waited, and then finally third try is the charm. So I got picked up and I went. It was a really cool experience. It was here in Texas as well. So it was my second or third time in Texas, just in training. And then I transferred to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, where I just did normal law enforcement and canine duties, after spending a little bit of time as canine and FE Warren. So in total, I've handled 2 dogs, Rex and Zeus. And then from there, I actually tried to go guard because I knew that active duty and the lifestyle that I was kind of living was honestly not a healthy one for me. It wasn't a healthy area or a healthy base for me. And I really just wanted to do something more. I kind of felt like canine was my dream for so long. I mean, I was in the military for 7 years, and up until year 6, that was pretty much my dream until one day it just wasn't. It didn't feel like the right fit for me.
What's the canine motto?
Canine leads the way. I don't care what Rangers say. I don't care. Canine leads the way. Anyway. Yeah, so I decided to try to go guard. Got denied every single time for that because my job was limited on manning. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get out. And ironically enough, at the time, as he threw in the whole, oh, we got married somewhere in there, we had gotten married. And then I found out a couple months later that we were expecting with our baby girl. So I was doing my job pregnant, and I had no idea. So it worked out perfectly that I was separating because I got the chance to just become a dependa. And move to Fort Benning, where that was probably the last thing that I ever expected my life to take me to was Fort Benning. I was pretty sure we were going to move to another location. But it ended up being awesome. I met an amazing friend there that I'm still friends with today, who was the best support system I could have asked for there because Tom was gone all the time. And I learned a lot about myself. I had the opportunity to really connect with my baby and kind of discover what motherhood was going to be for me. And I think that was like the first step in, one, my honest identity crisis, but 2, figuring out like who I wanted to be and not feeling confined or defined by something. Because for the longest time, my identity was the Air Force. It was canine. It was Instagram, honestly.
I didn't understand, like, I got that you were going through an identity crisis because I would try to put myself in your shoes, but I would say I never understood it till we got here.
Yep. I would say he's totally right.
And then I'm going through it right now. So I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty hard.
I feel like you're on the tail end, though. You're doing a lot better. But I definitely recognize some of the same traits in you as me, even though we handle things differently, especially when it comes to mental health and physical health. We're very different there. We're very different. But I
Excuse me.
think I'm not glad that you had to experience it, but I think it helped you understand the past me a little bit, which was kind of nice.
I was gonna say you were glad.
No.
You were not glad that what happened, but I think it ended up being an okay situation in the end.
Yeah, I would agree. So it brought us here, and as I mentioned, it kind of really helped me develop my path through pregnancy and birth and motherhood, and everything that came after just kind of pushed me in more of a direction to who I am today and the way that I live life, but also like how I saw my future going and my careers. And that brought me to beginning esthetician school. So I'm a night school student, and now I'm also in school to become a doula. So I found my passion for pregnancy and birth and delivery and postpartum and motherhood in general through my own experience and kind of tackling a lot of it on my own just because of his job. And then I think our unique experience with our daughter's health and the kind of crisis and life altering way that that was taught me even more. And in my own way, I hope to be able to be like a sounding board and a support system to other people that may have experienced something similar, or maybe in the future they do, um, and they know they can get through it because we did.
Hmm. With the understanding that you are only like support, and that if something like that does happen to them, you're not gonna have all the answers for them. It's still like, if anything, you're just hoping that like it becomes like a light bulb moment, like they can reach back on something that you've taught them when they get into the situation where like a light bulb goes off and they're like, I remember when Sid said that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it helps them get through like that moment in time. But I don't think. I guess that's like most of the podcast too. Like we're trying to have this open conversation, and if anything, like show that it's okay to have open conversations about certain like harder topics.
And maybe differing opinions too.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then in hopes that one day and one specific moment in time that it's just a light bulb moment for them, that they remember us talking about, that it just like goes off.
Kind of like a guiding light, I would say.
I do not want to call myself a guiding light for somebody. That is a heck of a lot of pressure.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I don't want to like go too off topic, but like we have support staff for us, like human performance support staff, psych staff, like religious staff, and a lot of it, like I know a bunch of guys are like against it in a way, because we're all pretty like, I can do this on my own, and I
Macho.
I can I totally get that. Like I am the exact same way, but I just want to like, I hope that um the like one thing that they teach me, is like a light bulb moment for me. They're like, okay, I know 99% of the stuff I didn't pay attention to, but like hopefully the 1% of whatever it is that they taught me like goes off in the right moment. Like you
Yeah,
can't
for sure.
expect, it's like the same thing as being a teacher, a coach, or whatever. You just like, you can't expect everything to like, you're throwing at a dartboard, or yeah, right, a
Yeah, a
dartboard. Yeah,
dartboard.
and it always hits the bullseye. Like
Yeah.
you hope just one of them hits and sticks. You can't expect everything to stick.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I just
I
hope
agree for
that
sure.
like, one thing sticks with you from all the podcasts that you listen to, because you listen to every single one.
Yeah, I love that. What a good way to end that. Perfect. And honestly, that really is it. Like I think we're doing this as something that we're passionate about, but that we want to share and that we're comfortable with sharing. And I I think it just stems from not only that passion to want to share, but just excitement. And we're
Mm-hmm.
two people that listen to podcasts, and we take something from everything we listen to, whether it's that we totally hated it or we learned something completely new, or it did put us into an uncomfortable thought process and made us better people at the same time. So I think that's what I'm excited for most, is just getting to talk with you and sit with you. And I mean, to give you a little insight into our life, like I don't really get to see you that much, so it's almost like us time. And we would be doing this regardless, but it's kind of exciting to like bring this to them.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just had this list of things that we love to talk about and challenge each other on.
Yeah, that end up being conversations at 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, dang, this is the wrong time to be having this conversation. We should, like, why are we talking about this stuff at 10 o'clock at night? That is way too big of a problem to solve right now.
I
Just go to
know.
bed,
I
you
know.
know?
But
Like, it's not like who put the dishes away. It's like intellectual stuff at the wrong time of day.
yeah.
Yeah. So we figured we'd just do it here, you know,
Yeah.
in a controlled setting when it makes sense to do it.
Yeah, so I guess now that you know a little bit about us, about why we're here, about what we plan on doing, we have a really cool theme, I guess you could say, that we're bringing to Grounded, the podcast. And it's grounded the brand, it's grounded the lifestyle, it's grounded everything. And if you do follow us on social media, we'll drop that at the end and in the description. But if you do follow our channels, you'll recognize the theme of just grounded being something that's branded across everything, because it's a way of life for us and it's something more than just a word. And here we have three main focuses that we really plan on talking about because of our lifestyle.
Body, mind, and soul. Those are the order that you wanted, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
body, mind, and soul.
Body, mind, and soul, because I think those are, I mean, that's like, sounds so cliche, but I think there's so many different things you can spin off of each one of those. But to be like a healthy individual in all aspects, you have to be intentional about each one of those things. And with the understanding that balance is difficult. And like,
It doesn't look the same for everyone either.
exactly, like, but you have to at least address the issue in that specific like domain, like the soul, you know.
Absolutely, but if one is off balance, the others will fall too. It's that perfect triangle.
Yeah, so body, mind, and soul are what we want to like talk about on this show, and just bring up a bunch of different topics about each one of those and how like for example, like body, we'll talk about exercising or certain exercises that can, you know, improve your health. Again, not like doctor's advice, but like stuff that has worked for us and that we've learned from other people.
Yeah.
And then mind, I think we have some different experiences with stuff that has like shaped our mental strength or mental resiliency, whatever it may be. And I think we can have a really cool conversation and multiple conversations about like how our brains work differently, and like how we, for me, how I've seen people's brains work, you know. And then as far as the soul goes, that's like the one that that was like the final piece to us. Yeah, it was like it took what happened in the last 2 years to like bring that one in to what's going on. Like we both went to Catholic school,
Yeah.
but
Revolted.
and we didn't revolt. It was just like, it was never.
It wasn't our way of practicing a spiritual life or a God-filled life or religious life, and we see things differently than some people and pretty aligned with others, just in the sense of our own spiritual journeys. And I think that we're absolutely still on them, individually
Yeah.
and as a couple and as a family. So we're just gonna kind of take you along for the ride and talk about that experience.
We're hoping to create a community.
Okay.
Yeah, where it's just as much as our podcast and our show and our lifestyle. Like it's a community and everybody's a part of it, and we all bounce ideas off of each other.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that pretty much covers everything we were hoping to just talk about today. Definitely went a little longer than expected, but I think it was necessary. I think it was necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it's that long. It's
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Dude.
know you were having this. Dude. Anyway, um, look for us every Monday. We're going to be posting here and really looking forward to getting to know all of you guys in the comments. And obviously, if you subscribe, it means the world to us. It'll keep you updated on when we drop new episodes as well. And yeah, we've got some really, really great topics, and we're very excited. So, thank you for anyone that's watching and for taking the time to sit back and listen to Grounded.
Thank you.